My unfaithful wife wanted to party while in her prime and have relationship pause. So I said okay and started hanging out with her sister. She got furious, our paths diverged, then she begged me to come back. Hey everyone, my name is Derek, and I'm a 29-year-old electrician living in San Antonio. I work at an independent electrical shop. Nothing too fancy, but it pays decent money, and I genuinely love working with my hands. It's satisfying work that lets me solve problems and create solutions every day. I live in a house in the suburbs with a garage where I spend most of my free time working on my pride and joy. A 1969 Dodge Charger that I've been restoring for the past 3 years. This car means everything to me. It's my passion project, my stress relief, and honestly one of my greatest accomplishments. Every weekend, you'll find me in that garage with my tools, slowly bringing this classic beauty back to life. I've been married to Lisa for almost 5 years now, and we've been together for 6 years total. In the beginning, we genuinely had a good thing going. Lisa works as a graphic designer at a boutique firm downtown, and when we first got together, we just clicked on pretty much everything. We used to take weekend trips to coastal areas, had this whole routine of cooking dinner together on Sundays, and could talk for hours about random stuff. Those early years felt effortless and natural. Lisa has always been more of a social butterfly, while I'm definitely more of a Netflix and chill kind of guy. Every Friday night, she'd hit up drinks with her college crew, a tight group of girls who have known each other since their freshman year. Honestly, it never bothered me. It gave me time to work on the Charger and catch up on whatever series I was binge-watching at the time. She'd come home with funny stories about their drama, and we'd end up talking until late into the night. But around 8 months ago, something started shifting in our dynamic. Lisa's friend Chelsea moved back to San Antonio and joined their Friday night crew. Chelsea is one of those women who thinks marriage is basically prison. She's constantly posting Instagram stories from clubs and talking about how much fun she's having being single. Her whole vibe is about how much better life is when you're not tied down to someone. Suddenly, Lisa started coming home from Friday nights with a completely different energy. Instead of our usual couch time where she'd decompress and we'd catch up on each other's week, she seemed restless and distant. She'd scroll through her phone more, make comments about how predictable our routine had become, and ask if I ever wondered what we were missing out on. It was like she was questioning everything about our life together. Around the same time, our intimacy started fading dramatically. What used to be natural and frequent between us became forced and cold. Lisa would find excuses to go to bed early or stay up late working on projects. Anything to avoid being close with me. When we did have sex, it felt like she was just going through the motions rather than being present in the moment. The connection we once had was disappearing, and I could feel her pulling away emotionally and physically. About 4 months into this new dynamic, things got significantly worse. Lisa started picking fights over the dumbest stuff imaginable. I remember one Saturday when I was working on the Charger in the garage, and she came storming out, demanding to know why I hadn't noticed that she'd rearranged the living room furniture. When I honestly said I hadn't really looked at it closely, she completely went off on me about how I never pay attention to anything she does and how I take her for granted. But then, she added this real gem that really stung. Maybe if you spent less time playing with that stupid car and more time being a husband, you'd notice things that matter. She also started complaining constantly about the time I spent in the garage, saying things like, "Normal men don't need to hide in garages all weekend," and "I married a man, not a grease monkey." When I tried to explain that restoring the Charger was my passion and something I was genuinely proud of, she'd just roll her eyes and say things like, "It's just an old car, grow up and find something more interesting." She also started making more comments about money, even though I was the primary breadwinner in our household. She'd say things like, "We could afford nice things if you didn't waste money on car parts," completely ignoring the fact that my restoration hobby actually added value to the car and that I paid for everything with overtime money I specifically worked to earn. It was like she was trying to tear down everything that brought me joy or made me feel accomplished. The distance between us kept growing until it felt like we were just sharing a house with a polite stranger who happened to know where I kept the coffee mugs. I tried talking to her about what was happening between us, but she'd just say she was fine or tired from work, usually while making it clear that whatever was bothering her was somehow my fault for not being psychic enough to figure it out on my own. Then the bomb dropped one night in April. I was sitting in the living room when Lisa walked over and sat on the coffee table facing me. "We need to talk about something important," she said, and my stomach immediately went into freefall mode. Nothing good ever follows that phrase. It's like the relationship equivalent of "we need to talk," but somehow even worse. She started with this whole rehearsed speech about how she'd been thinking about us and where we were headed. For a moment, I thought we were about to have one of those relationship check-in conversations. Maybe she wanted to plan a vacation or talk about buying a bigger house. Boy, was I wrong. I think we need to explore our options while we're still young, she said, and I just stared at her, trying to process what that could possibly mean. What do you mean by explore our options? I managed to ask. She did this uncomfortable shifting thing and then dropped the real news. I love you, but I feel like we're missing out on something. We got together so young and never really experienced other people or other relationships. My brain was doing that thing where it's trying to process information, but everything's moving in slow motion, like when you're in a car accident and can see it happening but can't stop it. Are you unhappy with our marriage? I managed to ask, though I was dreading the answer. No, that's not it at all, she replied quickly. I love you and want to stay married, but I think we should consider opening up our relationship. An open marriage would be good for both of us. We could explore other connections while still maintaining what we have together. She kept talking about how she'd been researching it online, how lots of couples do it successfully, and how Chelsea had apparently told her about some couples she knew who had open marriages and were so much happier than traditional couples. But then, she added something that really hit me like a punch to the gut. Besides, it's not like our current situation is exactly thrilling anymore. Maybe some outside perspective would help us both grow up and figure out what we actually want. The whole time I'm sitting there thinking that this feels like a script she's been practicing with her friend group, complete with little digs at me, disguised as relationship advice. When I asked if there was someone specific she had in mind, she hesitated just long enough to tell me everything I needed to know. No, I just want the freedom to explore if opportunity arises, she said defensively. God, you're so paranoid. Can a woman want something for herself without you making it about your insecurities? That pause before her answer was louder than anything she actually said. I could tell there was more to this story than she was letting on. Here's where I surprised even myself. Instead of losing my mind or trying to talk her out of it, I said, okay. The look on her face was absolutely priceless. Like she'd been gearing up for World War III and I just handed her a white flag instead of fighting back. Really? She said, clearly shocked. Really? I confirmed. If that's what you think our marriage needs, let's try it. The next morning, Lisa left for work, practically skipping. She actually said, I'm proud of you for being so mature about this, like she was my mom congratulating me for not throwing a tantrum. It was condescending as hell, but I just smiled and nodded. I went to the shop, but couldn't focus on anything. During my lunch break, I did something I hadn't done since college. I downloaded dating apps. Not just one, but 3 of them. If we were playing this game, I was going to play it right. But honestly, I wasn't just jumping into dating to spite Lisa. I realized that if our marriage was heading south anyway, I needed to get my own life together and figure out what I actually wanted. I started making some changes that I'd been putting off for way too long. The first thing I did was hit the gym. I'd been meaning to get back in shape for years. And suddenly, I had all this nervous energy that needed somewhere to go. I started going after work before heading home, lifting weights and running on the treadmill. It felt good to focus on something I could actually control, and the physical exercise helped clear my head. Weekends became all about the charger. Instead of trying to squeeze in garage time around Lisa's moods or dealing with her snide comments about my stupid hobby, I could just spend entire Saturdays and Sundays working on the restoration. It was therapeutic, and I was finally making real progress on bringing the car back to life. I also started hanging out with my buddies more. Jake, Chris, and Carlos had been asking me to join their poker nights for months, and I'd always made excuses because I felt like I should be home with Lisa. Now I finally started going, and it felt great to have that male camaraderie again. Carlos, my Mexican best friend since high school, immediately called me out when I showed up to the first poker game looking like hell. Dude, you look like someone ran over your dog with your own truck, Carlos said while dealing cards. What's Lisa got you doing now? When I explained the open marriage situation to the guys, Carlos nearly choked on his drink. Wait. She basically said, I want to bang other guys but keep you around for emotional support and mortgage payments. And you said yes? Bro, you're either playing 4D chess or you've completely lost your mind. Setting up dating profiles was weird as hell. How do you write married guy looking for something casual without sounding like a complete creep? It turns out there are way more people interested in that setup than I expected. Apparently, San Antonio is full of people who want connection without commitment. My first few dates were complete disasters. There was Kelly, a yoga instructor who spent the entire dinner talking about her spiritual journey and chakra alignment. Then there was Victoria, who seemed normal until she started showing me photos of her 3 cats and explaining their personalities in disturbing detail. But here's the thing. I wasn't just having fun or trying to get back at Lisa. I was preparing my exit strategy. Deep down, I knew my marriage was already over the moment Lisa asked to open it. So during this time, while she was enjoying her new freedom, I got to work on securing my future. After that second train wreck of a date, I spent the next few days quietly moving money around. I opened a separate checking account and started having part of my paycheck deposited there. I made copies of all our financial documents, insurance policies, and property records. I also called my buddy Ryan, who'd gone through a nasty divorce 2 years earlier. He gave me the name of his lawyer and some crucial advice. Document everything, secure your assets, and don't tip your hand until you're ready to move. Meanwhile, I kept up the dating charade while Lisa started going out more often, staying out later, and coming home with this glow I remembered from when we first started dating. Except now it wasn't because of me. I noticed she was starting to ask casual questions about my dating life. But in that way, women do when they're fishing for information, without wanting to seem like they're actually fishing. "How's the app thing going?" she'd ask while doing dishes. "Meeting anyone interesting?" Then she'd always follow up with something patronizing about how she was sure I'd find someone appropriate for my level, whatever the hell that meant. Carlos had the perfect response when I told him about this behavior. "Oh, she's fishing all right, but instead of catching information, she's about to catch these hands when she realizes you're not sitting around crying into your toolbox." I also noticed Lisa watching me more carefully these days. She'd make comments about me going to the gym, like, "I guess you're trying to impress someone now," and ask why I was working so much overtime with this accusatory tone, like I was stealing from her. She even seemed annoyed when I'd spend entire weekends in the garage instead of hanging around the house waiting for her to come back from her dates. Now here's what happened before everything went nuclear. One evening while scrolling through my phone, I matched with someone named Sophia. I recognized her immediately. Sophia had been Lisa's roommate during their junior year and was in a bunch of their group pictures. She was the one Lisa always made passive-aggressive comments about, usually something about how Sophia always got all the attention, or how guys would hit on Sophia when they were out together. Sophia was objectively gorgeous, like movie star gorgeous. Dark hair, green eyes, and the kind of smile that makes you forget what you were saying. When we matched, I wasn't even sure if I should mention that I knew who she was. But Sophia brought it up first, saying she remembered me and asking if Lisa and I were still together. When I explained the open marriage situation to Sophia, she seemed genuinely surprised, but not judgmental about it. "Lisa always did like to shake things up," she said, with this little smile that told me there was definitely some history there that I wasn't fully aware of. Our first coffee date lasted 4 hours. Sophia was everything Lisa used to be before we got comfortable and complacent. She was intelligent, funny, and actually interested in what I had to say. She asked about my work, my charger restoration project, and my thoughts on everything from movies to current events. More importantly, she listened to my answers and asked follow-up questions instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. Sophia and I started seeing each other twice a week, and the chemistry was immediate and intense. But more than just physical attraction, being with her felt easy in a way I'd forgotten was possible. There was no walking on eggshells, no passive-aggressive comments, no feeling like I had to apologize for my interests or hobbies. One evening when she came over to my place, I was working on the charger's transmission in the garage. Instead of complaining about the noise or telling me to hurry up, Sophia actually seemed interested in watching me work. She asked questions about what I was doing, complimented my tools, and even handed me parts when I needed them. It was amazing having someone who appreciated the craftsmanship and skill that went into restoring a classic car, instead of someone who constantly complained about the time I spent on it or called it a stupid hobby. "She's beautiful," Sophia said, running her hand along the charger's fender. "You've done incredible work on her. This takes real skill and patience." That might have been the moment I knew I was falling for her. Lisa had never once said anything positive about my car project. Here was Sophia genuinely appreciating both the car and the work I'd put into it. Meanwhile, I was keeping up my new routine. Gym 4 times a week, taking on extra projects at work, poker nights with the guys, and weekends dedicated to the charger. I was actually feeling better about myself than I had in months. I was getting in shape, making more money, and genuinely enjoying my free time instead of walking on eggshells around Lisa. Carlos noticed the change immediately. Damn, man, you went from looking like a kicked puppy to looking like you just won the lottery, he said one night during poker. Sophia's got you glowing like a quinceañera candle. Lisa definitely noticed the changes too. She started making comments about how I was never around anymore and asking why I was suddenly so busy, but with this entitled tone, like I owed her my schedule. The irony was incredible. She was the one who wanted space to explore other people, but she seemed bothered that I was actually using my time productively instead of sitting around waiting for her. I thought the point of this was for us to still prioritize our marriage, she said one night when I told her I was going out. You're acting like a single man. Isn't that what you wanted? I asked. Not like this. You're supposed to still care about coming home to me, she replied, which made absolutely no sense given that she'd been the one pushing for this arrangement in the first place. Her questions about my dating life became more frequent and pointed. She wanted to know where I was going, who I was meeting, and what we did together. But she'd ask in this condescending way like, I hope you're being safe out there, or just remember some women are only interested in what they can get from you. I kept things vague because honestly, what was I supposed to say? That I was having the time of my life with someone who made me feel appreciated again? That I'd found someone who actually enjoyed my company and respected my interests? After about 3 weeks of this new dynamic, I could tell Lisa was getting anxious. She started coming home earlier from her own dates and got this tight expression whenever I mentioned I was going out. She also started making these little comments like, remember, this is just for fun, not for falling in love. And we agreed this was about exploration, not replacement. Carlos's take on this was perfect. She's acting like a kid who gave away her favorite toy and now wants it back because someone else is playing with it. Except the toy is you, and you're not stuffed with cotton. You're stuffed with common sense. One night, Lisa tried to initiate intimacy with me for the first time in months. She came into the living room wearing this lingerie I hadn't seen in forever, clearly expecting me to jump at the opportunity. But honestly, I wasn't feeling it. Between her recent coldness toward me and the fact that I knew she was sleeping with Tyler, the whole thing just felt gross and wrong. I'm not really in the mood, I told her honestly. Her face went through about 5 different emotions in rapid succession. What do you mean you're not in the mood? She demanded. I'm your wife, and I'm allowed to choose who I want to sleep with, just like you are, I replied calmly. That was the whole point of the open marriage, right? She looked like I'd physically slapped her. That's not the same thing at all. You can't just reject me like I'm some random woman. I'm your wife. How is it not the same thing? I asked. You've been out there exploring your options, and now I get to explore mine. That includes choosing when and with whom I want to be intimate. You're being ridiculous, she snapped. Wives have certain rights in a marriage, and you can't just decide to ignore them because you're having some midlife crisis with dating apps. She stormed off to the guest room, and I could hear her on the phone with Chelsea, probably complaining about how unreasonable I was being. The irony was incredible. She wanted the freedom to see other people, but expected me to still be available whenever she felt like it. The turning point came when I decided to invite Sophia over for dinner. I told Lisa that evening that I was having a friend over for dinner the next night. She asked who, and I said it was someone she knew from college. When Sophia arrived looking absolutely stunning in a simple black dress, Lisa's face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Dinner was incredibly awkward. Lisa was fake polite to Sophia, but kept making these subtle digs about how Sophia was still playing the field and must be having so much fun being single. She also made comments like, some people never learn to settle down, and I guess not everyone is cut out for real commitment. Sophia, to her credit, was gracious throughout the whole thing. She actually tried to include Lisa in the conversation, asking about her work and showing genuine interest in her responses. The whole time, I could see Lisa watching how Sophia and I interacted, how Sophia laughed at my jokes, how she asked follow-up questions about stories Lisa had clearly stopped listening to years ago, and how she complimented the dinner I'd cooked instead of critiquing it. After dinner, Sophia asked if she could see the charger. I proudly showed her out to the garage, and I could see Lisa watching us through the kitchen window, her face getting darker by the minute, as Sophia admired my work and asked intelligent questions about the restoration process. After Sophia left, Lisa waited exactly 30 seconds before losing her absolute mind. When I told Carlos about the dinner later, he was dying laughing. So your wife's college roommate shows up looking like a snack, actually appreciates your work, and Lisa's watching through the window like some psycho neighbor? Bro, that's not dinner. That's a telenovela episode. What the hell was that? Lisa screamed the second the door closed behind Sophia. I played dumb. What was what? You brought Sophia here to our house. Of all people you could be seeing, it had to be her. I thought you'd be happy to reconnect with an old friend, I said, which only made her angrier. Don't give me that bullshit, she yelled. You know exactly what you were doing. You brought her here to rub it in my face because you know she's always been everything I'm not. Rub what in your face? The fact that I'm dating someone like we agreed? Not someone like her. Sophia's always been the one who gets everything handed to her. The guys, the attention, everything. And now you're just another one of them, aren't you? Just another guy who thinks she's so special. So let me get this straight, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. You asked for an open marriage so you could see other people, but you're mad that I'm actually seeing someone? I didn't think you'd find someone like her, she said. And there it was, the truth finally coming out. I thought you'd maybe find some desperate woman who'd be grateful for whatever attention she could get from a married man, she continued, her voice getting more venomous. Someone like what? Someone who actually seems to enjoy my company? Someone who appreciates the things I'm passionate about instead of calling them stupid? Lisa's face crumpled for a moment, but then the anger came back even stronger. Someone better than me. Is that what you're saying? You think you're too good for me now because some college princess is slumming it with you? I stared at her for a long moment, then threw her earlier words right back at her. This isn't what I had in mind when we agreed to open our marriage. This is different, she protested immediately. You're supposed to be exploring, not replacing me. And definitely not with someone who's going to make me look pathetic by comparison. How? How is it different? I asked, genuinely wanting to understand her twisted logic. She couldn't answer because there was no good answer. She'd expected me to fail at this whole thing while she got to explore whatever she wanted. The idea that I might actually find someone amazing, especially someone she knew and had always been insecure about, had never occurred to her. In her mind, I was supposed to be grateful for whatever scraps of attention she threw my way while she had her fun. That's when she finally spilled the real truth. She'd been seeing Tyler, a coworker, for 2 months before she even brought up the open marriage idea. They'd been flirting at work, and she knew she wanted to pursue it. But she didn't want to be a cheater. The whole open marriage conversation had been her way of getting permission for something she was already emotionally invested in. Besides, she added, like this somehow made it better, Tyler actually appreciates me. He doesn't spend all his time playing with cars like some teenager. He has real ambitions and goals. I felt this weird calm settle over me, like when you finally figure out what's wrong with an engine that's been running rough. Well, that changes things, I said quietly. She'd essentially been having an emotional affair, then manipulated me into agreeing to an arrangement that legitimized it. When she tried to argue that she hadn't technically done anything wrong because we weren't physical until after our agreement, I cut her off. The boundaries were crossed before they were even established, I told her, and left the room. That's when I decided it was time to end this charade. The next morning, I called my lawyer and set up a consultation. Within a week, I had my ducks in a row and knew exactly what I needed to do. I played it cool for another 2 weeks, acting like everything was normal while my lawyer prepared the paperwork. Lisa seemed to think we'd work through her Tyler revelation with some counseling and boundary adjustments. She even started suggesting we dial back the open marriage and focus on rebuilding our connection. I think we've both learned some valuable lessons, she said one evening. Maybe we rushed into this too fast. I'm willing to be more understanding about your needs if you can be more mature about mine. I just nodded along, letting her think we were going to work things out. Meanwhile, my lawyer was impressed with how thoroughly I'd prepared for this moment. Most guys come in here after their wife has already cleaned them out, he told me. You're way ahead of the game. Carlos's reaction when I told him my plan was perfect. So you're going full John Wick, but with divorce papers instead of guns. My man, you're about to serve her papers colder than a margarita in December. On Thursday morning, while Lisa was getting ready for work, the process server knocked on our door. Lisa answered in her bathrobe, probably expecting a delivery. Instead, she got handed divorce papers. Her scream could probably be heard 3 houses down. What the hell is this? She shrieked, waving the papers like they were on fire. I calmly sipped my coffee. Divorce papers? You can't be serious. We just talked about working on things. No, you talked about working on things. I listened. There's a difference. She started crying, then got angry, then cycled back to crying. This isn't fair! You didn't even give me a chance to fix this! I said I was willing to compromise! You had 5 years to not manipulate me and lie about emotional affairs, I replied evenly. That was your chance. But we agreed to try the open marriage. You said you were okay with it. You can't just change your mind and punish me for following rules we both agreed to. Even now, she was acting like she was the victim in all this. I was okay with honesty and mutual respect. You gave me neither. I can't believe you've been planning this behind my back. How long have you been scheming like some kind of psychopath? This is so manipulative. About as long as you've been seeing Tyler, I said, which shut her up for exactly 5 seconds before she started screaming about how unfair it was that I didn't warn her. How I should have given her a chance to fight for us, and how this wasn't what she wanted. Real men don't just give up on their marriages, she yelled. They fight for what they love. But I guess you never really loved me if you can just throw it all away like this. You wanted an open marriage, I reminded her calmly. Now you're getting the ultimate open marriage. We'll both be free to see whoever we want. Then came the part that really set her off. According to the other papers, she had 30 days to find alternative housing. Since the house was mine, bought and paid for before we got married, her name wasn't on the deed, mortgage, or any utilities. You can't kick me out, she screamed. This is my home too. I've been living here for 3 years. I have rights. Actually, it's not, I said matter-of-factly. You've got 30 days. Where am I supposed to go? I can't afford my own place on my salary. You know that. This is financial abuse. I hear Tyler has a place, I said, which made her face turn an interesting shade of purple. Tyler and I we're not ready for that kind of step yet. You can't just force me to move in with someone because it's convenient for you. She threw the papers at me and stormed upstairs. I could hear her on the phone, probably calling Chelsea or her mom, sobbing about how cruel and calculating I was being. About 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was Lisa's mom, and I should have let it go to voicemail, but I answered. Bad move. How dare you do this to my daughter? She started screaming before I could even say hello. Hello to you too, Patricia, I said. Don't you hello me! Lisa is upstairs crying her eyes out because of what you've done. How could you be so cruel? She made one little mistake and you're destroying her life over it. One little mistake, right, Patricia? I don't think you have the full story. I have enough of the story. Lisa told me everything, she said. You two agreed to try new things in your marriage, and now you're punishing her for it. That's not how marriage works. Marriage is about forgiveness and working through problems, not running away the second things get difficult. She asked for an open marriage to cover up the fact that she was already having an emotional affair, I said calmly. That's not trying new things. That's cheating with extra steps. That's not what she told me. She said you both wanted to explore, and now you're being vindictive because she found someone first. You're just jealous that she's more attractive and social than you are. Patricia, I'm not going to argue with you about this. Lisa and I are getting divorced. The papers have been filed. You can't just throw away 5 years of marriage. What about for better or worse? What about working through problems? You're being selfish and immature. My daughter deserves a real man who will fight for their marriage, not someone who gives up and runs to lawyers the second things get challenging. I'm being selfish? I actually laughed. Your daughter manipulated me into an open marriage so she could sleep with her coworker guilt-free, and I'm the selfish one? She's trying to work on things. She wants to go to counseling, but you won't even give her a chance because you're too stubborn and proud and probably jealous that she found someone more successful than you. She'd basically just admitted that this was my fault that Lisa cheated because I wasn't a better husband. At the first sign of trouble, now it was my fault. This woman was completely delusional. Patricia, with all due respect, this conversation is over. Don't call me again. Don't you dare hang up on me! I'm not finished with you! You're going to regret this when you realize what you're throwing away! I hung up and immediately blocked her number. Within minutes, I got a text from an unknown number that was clearly her using Lisa's dad's phone, calling me every name in the book and threatening to make me pay for hurting their daughter. I blocked that number too and forwarded the threatening messages to my lawyer. The apple definitely didn't fall far from the tree. When I told Carlos about Patricia's phone call, he was rolling with laughter. Bro, her mom called you nothing special? That's rich coming from a woman whose daughter just got served divorce papers like a McDonald's order. I bet Patricia's the type who asks to speak to the manager at Walmart. The next 30 days were absolutely wild. Lisa seemed to think that if she made my life miserable enough, I'd change my mind about the divorce. She'd leave passive-aggressive notes around the house about how some people don't know a good thing when they have it, and how certain people will regret their choices when they're old and alone. But here's the thing. It was my house. So I started inviting Sophia over regularly. She would come by after work sometimes and sit in the garage with me while I worked on the charger. She'd hand me tools and just enjoy watching the process. It was everything I'd wanted to share with Lisa, but never could. I could see Lisa watching us from the kitchen window, getting more and more agitated every time Sophia showed genuine interest in my work. By day 15, Lisa couldn't handle watching Sophia and me together anymore. She packed her bags in a dramatic huff and went to Tyler's place, declaring that she didn't need this house and that I'd regret throwing away our marriage for some college fantasy who probably wouldn't stick around once the novelty wore off. I felt nothing but relief when her car pulled out of the driveway. Carlos's text when I told him she'd finally left was perfect. "Lisa's gone. Time to celebrate. I'm bringing tacos. We're toasting to your freedom, hermano." The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Lisa tried to claim she deserved half the house despite not being on any paperwork, arguing that she'd contributed to the household and that her emotional labor should count for something. My lawyer shut that down quickly. She got her car, her personal belongings, and half of our joint savings account. That was it. At first, I thought that would be the end of it. Lisa got what she thought she wanted, freedom to be with Tyler without the burden of our marriage. But apparently, that's not how her twisted logic worked. Tyler bailed on her about 6 weeks after she moved in with him. According to mutual friends, he got tired of her constant drama about the divorce and her obsession with tracking my social media. She'd apparently spent their dates complaining about me and Sophia instead of focusing on their relationship. Carlos's reaction to this news was classic. Tyler ran faster than a tourist from a street taco that's been sitting in the sun too long. Can't say I blame him. That's when Lisa's behavior got really weird. It started with flowers. I'd come home from the shop and find bouquets on my front porch with these handwritten notes about how sorry she was and how she wanted to talk things through like adults. The notes also included gems like, "I know you're just acting out because you're hurt, and we both know Sophia is just a rebound. You'll come to your senses eventually." I threw them away and figured she'd get the hint eventually. She didn't. Sophia started getting Instagram DMs from Lisa. Long, rambling messages about how Sophia was destroying a family and how she hoped Sophia was happy with herself. The messages got increasingly nasty, calling Sophia everything from a homewrecker to the kind of woman who preys on vulnerable men going through difficult times. When Sophia blocked her main account, Lisa created fake profiles to keep messaging her. The messages got increasingly unhinged, accusing Sophia of stealing someone else's husband and saying things like "enjoy him while it lasts," because men like him always go back to their wives eventually. Carlos's take on the Instagram stalking was hilarious. Lisa's making fake accounts like she's running a quinceañera planning business. Next thing you know, she'll be sliding into Sophia's DMs as Flower Girl 2024, talking about how she makes the best tamales. Then came the mutual friends campaign. Lisa started reaching out to everyone we knew, telling them her version of events where I was a controlling manipulator who abandoned her for her college roommate. Some people bought it, but most had seen enough of Lisa's behavior over the years to know better. The breaking point came when Sophia and I went to our friend Chris's birthday party. Lisa showed up uninvited and spent the entire night following us around, making loud comments about how some people have no loyalty and how certain people couldn't be trusted around other people's husbands. She even tried to corner Sophia in the bathroom to explain the real situation, allegedly telling her that I was just using her to make Lisa jealous. We left early, but the whole thing was embarrassing as hell. That weekend, I found Lisa sitting in her car outside my house when I got back from picking up parts for the charger. She rolled down her window and started yelling about how I was parading that woman around like some trophy and how I was rubbing it in her face just to be cruel. "You don't live here anymore, Lisa," I told her firmly. "You need to leave." "This used to be my home," she shot back. "I have a right to drive down this street. You can't control the whole neighborhood just because you want to play house with your little girlfriend." "You have the right to drive down the street," I said calmly. "You don't have the right to park outside my house and harass me. I'm not harassing anyone. I'm just trying to understand how you could throw away our entire marriage for someone who's probably just using you for entertainment. She's going to get bored and move on, and then you'll realize what you lost." She drove off, but I found her there again 2 days later. This time, she just sat there staring at the house. When I came outside, she rolled down her window and yelled, "I hope you're happy. I hope she was worth destroying everything we built together," before speeding away. I blocked her on everything: phone, social media, email, the works. But she kept finding ways to contact me through mutual friends or by creating new accounts. So I called my lawyer and filed for a restraining order. Between the documented harassment of Sophia, the trespassing, the admitted stalking behavior, and the implicit threats against my property, it was pretty cut and dried. I got the temporary restraining order that day, which became permanent a month later. Lisa violated it within 2 weeks by having Chelsea call me with a message from Lisa about how sorry she was and how she just wanted to make things right. According to Chelsea, Lisa was devastated and just wanted me to know that she'd learned her lesson and was ready to be the wife I deserved. I reported the violation and Lisa got a visit from the cops. That apparently scared her straight because the harassment finally stopped. It's been 4 months since then, and things have finally calmed down. Sophia and I moved in together officially last month. She's everything Lisa never was. Stable, honest, supportive, and genuinely interested in my passions. She even helped me finish the interior restoration on the Charger. Now we take weekend drives through the Texas coastal areas in it, something I'd always dreamed of doing, but never could with Lisa, because she thought it was boring. Lisa, meanwhile, has apparently moved back in with her parents after bouncing between Chelsea's couch and a series of dating app disasters. According to mutual friends, she's been telling anyone who will listen that I stole her life and gave it to Sophia. She's also been posting cryptic social media messages about how some people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone, and how karma always comes around. Carlos's final take on the whole situation was perfect. That's perfect. Now she can practice being someone's problem child before she tries to be someone's wife again. Meanwhile, you're out here living your best life with a woman who actually appreciates your skills. That's what we call a glow-up, Micho. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Lisa had just been honest from the beginning. If she'd said she was having feelings for Tyler and wanted to either work on our marriage or end it honorably, we probably could have divorced amicably and both moved on with our lives like adults. Instead, she tried to have everything: the security of marriage, the excitement of a new relationship, and complete control over how it all played out. She ended up with nothing, while I got exactly what she thought she was going to take from me: my freedom, my happiness, and a partner who actually values what I bring to the relationship. The Charger is finally finished. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm with someone who makes me feel appreciated every single day. Looking back, I'm actually grateful that Lisa asked for the open marriage. It forced me to take a hard look at what I really wanted and gave me the motivation to become the best version of myself. If she hadn't pushed for it, I might have stayed in that dead-end relationship for years, slowly losing pieces of myself until there was nothing left. Now I wake up every morning excited about my life instead of dreading another day of walking on eggshells. And that, more than anything else, tells me I made the right choice.